Hey guys, so welcome back. I am just wanting to drop a little video on, just to build a little self-confidence for us ladies. The reason that I titled this video, I am a dream girl, is because, that's what I've been saying to myself all last year, all going into 2024, and that's what we're believing for ourselves. I want to just kind of get into the obvious. The way we see ourselves and our self-worth after traumatic events, after relationships, after, some of the hard things that we deal with in our lives, some of us start to think that we're not as on the level that we should be in the sense of emotionally, physically. We tend to think that we're not up to the level that we might see other females on, that we might see on social media, or even some of our friends and family. We start to feel like we're not, good enough. Some of the things that we might think to ourselves is that, no one is going to want me. I'm too damaged. I've been through too much. Or we might even tend to think, I don't want to deal with anyone. I don't want to interact with people. I don't want to date. I don't want to talk to any guys. I don't want to do anything. And those are also ways that we kind of put ourselves down a little bit. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about recognizing the signs of feeling inadequate and how to level up our mindset to get back into the mindset of believing that I am a dream girl no matter what. So I just want to get into some examples of things that we've gone through in our lives that will just make us feel we're not on the level of other females. Relationships is a big one. Relationships will have us just down and depressed and feeling insecure. Even if we went into that relationship feeling so confident, feeling like, I'm that girl, a lot of times a relationship, especially a traumatic relationship, whether there is abuse involved, whether that abuse is verbally or physical, if there's infidelity involved, that's a big one. A lot of times those things could just kind of really chomp us down to feel small, to the point that when we leave that relationship, we're not feeling as confident as we once was, especially if it's the type of situation where that relationship was a long relationship. So some of the examples of what trauma can cause you to not feel like, you're that girl anymore. I would definitely say relationships, a single parent household, having to take care of a disabled family member, generational curses. That's a big one. Definitely abuse, abandonment. A big one would be your career or lack thereof. So I'm just going to kind of break it down a little bit just to kind of explain to you how certain things that we go through that will cause us to not feel the confidence that we had before, or to not feel like that confident female that we know that we are. Let's use $100 bill for example. I know all of you all know the dollar analogy. So basically, if you have a dollar, in our case it's $100 bill, and that $100 bill we already know how money, can be disgusting. It's passed around from person to person. And when a different person gets it, they treat it differently. Some people just hold it in their wallet. They barely touched it until it's time to be used. Other people crinkle it up in a ball. Some people stick it in their bra. Some people stick it in their balls. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I'm just kind of trying to use this for an example. Like people do a lot of things with money. Kids make rings out of them. Like money is just used for so many different things. Or people do so many different things with physical money. So no matter what, how many people that $100 bill has gone to, how many times that $100 bill has been abused and mistreated, does it still lose its value? And the answer is no. You can take a crinkly $100 bill that was made in 1986, or you could take a $100 bill that they just printed here in 2024 that's nice and crispy, and both $100 bills are going to be worth the same. They're going to have the same value. So some of the things that happens in our lives that cause us to feel like we're not worth anything anymore. Like I said, one is relationships. I'm just going to go a little bit into how a relationship can make us not feel good enough. And I think relationships are an obvious one. I mean, think about I mean, most people have been through a horrible relationship. I mean, if you've never had a bad relationship, you are a very blessed small percentage of the world. But most people have been in a bad relationship or several bad relationships, and sometimes those relationships are going to be physically abusive, verbally abusive, mentally abusive. Sometimes it's going to be infidelity involved. There's going to be situations where even going through everything that you've gone through, you still feel less than, like not enough. And I'll use myself for example, because that's something that I always want to do, is just kind of give you a little piece of my experience. When I was in a relationship, when I was married for 10 years. And when I was married, I was confident. I was hella confident going into that marriage. I was confident all through the marriage. And he used to really say some awful, awful things because he was an abusive guy. So in order to keep himself from being abusive physically to me, he would verbally abuse me. And he would say some of the most awful things. And even when he would say it, I would still look at him like, oh, I know you don't believe that. What makes you think I believe that? I didn't believe any of the things that he was saying to me. But a lot of women do, and a lot of women starts to kind of sit on them. And even for me, somebody who didn't believe the things that he was saying to me, over time, when I kept hearing these negative things that was kind of being spewed out of his mouth, I started to I realized after the divorce that some of those words did affect me in a negative way, to where I didn't feel good enough, or wanted, or up to par. You know what I mean? Another example would be family situations. Maybe you are the sole provider of your family. Maybe you're a single mom, disabled children, multiple children. You take care of a lot of people in your family, like your parents. Your whole life evolves around them. You don't have a lot of free time for yourself, and you can't do much outside of them because that's your life. You're on call all the time. So things like that can start to make you feel like you're not that girl anymore. Like you're not a dream. Who would want you? Who would consider you to be a dream girl? You're not a role model. You're not anything. That's how you start to think, and we all know that's not true. And I just think that a lot of times that can happen. That will really make you feel just inadequate, because you think your one sole role and purpose in life is to be a caregiver, to whoever you're caring for. And so those are things that, I want people to kind of recognize are things that can cause people to feel that they're no longer an ideal woman. Generational curses. Uh, I mean, whether it's poverty, just coming from the type of family that and I would say poverty is pretty much the number one. If you come from a family that just was never well off, whether you grew up in a hood, whether you grew up in like a food stamp family, and that kind of trickles into your adulthood, where you still have to rely on some sort of government assistance to survive, or you maybe come from a teen pregnancy family where your mom had you young, you had a baby young, your son that you had is now having a baby. Like all of those things can start to make you feel like I said, just inadequate. Like, who would want you in this sort of situation? Who would ever consider you to be wifey material, or who would ever consider you to be, someone that they look up to or can take advice from, or whatever, and it is something that's real. It's something that affects us. It is something that sits on us. Definitely. Abuse, abandonment. These are things that could have been coming from family situations or generational curses. Maybe you didn't have a family. It could be several different situations that would, make one feel not good enough. And I'll specifically use, maybe you're the type of person who grew up in a foster system, or maybe you were adopted. Maybe you come from a family where there was a lot of like sexual abuse. Those things can just really, really, really make you feel invaluable, especially sexual abuse. Like those things can really make you feel dirty, like I said, invaluable, inadequate, and it's all because of how you feel in that moment, how you feel after the years that it affected you. A lot of different, things can come from that. And definitely, as you are getting into your grown woman era, those are things that can hinder that for sure. And this is a big one, definitely career. So if you've been like working hard your whole life, you've been working jobs, and maybe you never established a career for yourself. Maybe you never tapped into what your purpose is as far as like how to provide for your family that makes you happy. And maybe you do. Maybe you have found your career and the promotions aren't flowing. Maybe it's a lot of like, discrimination in the workplace, different things. If you're not where you want to be in your career, that can really make you feel like, like shit. I mean, to really, for lack of a better word, something that affects all of us, like I said, whether we're established, whether we're not. And if you are, it's just something that can really cause you to not feel, good enough. Or maybe you're in a relationship and your husband or your partner is the sole provider and they're established in their career. Maybe you're a homemaker and you don't have a career and you are struggling to find out who you are outside of that person. Like those things could definitely make you feel, like I said, just inadequate. You're not going to get those dream girl vibes from that. And those are things that I just really, really want to just hone in on to kind of give you guys some clarity and give you some ideas on how to overcome all of this. I have a few tips. On how to overcome this and to get back into your groove, get back into your mindset of feeling like you are that girl again. You are a dream. These are things that I've been working on myself. And like I said, it started for me, I would say, at the end of 2023. I would say the last few months of the year, I came across something on Instagram and it said, I am a dream girl. Just very simple, just like that. And I started to look at it and I started to think about it and ponder on it. And I was like, you know what? I am. Like, I'm not in a relationship right now. And, I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm wanting to, be in a relationship again. I've been single for 10 years and I've loved every minute of it. All the ups, downs, all of it. I've loved every minute of it. And I've been enjoying myself being single. I've learned how to not feel like I need a man. I've learned to not rely on that and look forward to that and to really just kind of work on myself. And that's really hard for a lot of people. And I very much so pride myself on the fact that I've been able to do that. But now my kids are getting older and I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to want to travel more. I can't say that I've traveled solo to be able to say that I enjoy traveling solo. I am going to start doing it more this year. But I want to start traveling and I want to travel with a boo thing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I want to have more vacations and I want to get into that life that I've never had with a man. So in order for me to be able to attract that, I have to truly believe that I am capable and worth the man that I'm envisioning in my head. And I do know that he exists. Never let anyone tell you that your list of expectations of what you want in a man is too long, because that person exists and you shouldn't settle until you have that. Now, I do think some of the things that people say can be a little ridiculous, but that's another video. But I know what I want out of a man and I know what I'm willing to sacrifice if he doesn't have, things that he doesn't have qualities. But for the most part, I know what I want out of a man. And I have been blessed to experience that type of man while I've been dating more than a few times. So, like I said, I'm just going to get into some tips on what you can do to change your mindset so that you can kind of level up your way of thinking when it comes to yourself, to remind yourself that you are a dream girl. So number one will be to have a life outside of your situation. So whatever your situation is, so in my case, I'm a mom, right? I'm a single mom. I am the sole provider of my family. I had a marriage before. It was a very traumatic marriage. But outside of all of those things that I also am still me. So for me, I make sure that I do things for myself. And you have to find what those things are. Maybe you love makeup. Maybe you love food. Maybe you love yoga, working out, going to festivals, art. For me, I love traveling. I love a lot of things, but I really, really enjoy traveling. So I try to make sure I take a trip every few months. I try to, everybody has their things that they spend money on that they will, drop a stack on, no problem. Mine is vacations. I love to go somewhere. And even if it's just for a few days, I try to make sure I always take time out for myself. And having that time for yourself allows you to have time to think. It also allows you to grow. And that's where the changing of the mindset starts to happen. See what I'm saying? Read more books. I'm not a big reader, but I'm a big writer. And I think that's why I'm not a big reader, is because I'm more of the create the content versus read the content. But I am starting to get into reading a lot more because I'm finding that it is something that is so important. It's so beneficial for growth in so many ways. I mean, whether you're reading up on finances, whether you're reading up on, just some sort of fictional story, whether it's a self-help book, whatever. I think reading is just a way to escape for a moment, and it's also a way to learn at the same time. So reading books is something that is just something, I mean, it's just something that's so important, and I highly, highly recommend it. I highly, highly recommend it for being able to level up your way of thinking. Manifestation, like, be delusional. I'm in such a state of delusion this year, like it's crazy, and I don't even care. Like I didn't even know some of the people that I've talked to about some of the things I'm trying to do probably think I'm a hot mess, a crazy hot mess. But if you don't think that way about yourself, who's going to? And we all know that manifestation is real. We know that it's something that can really take you to the next level if you really speak that thing and you really believe that thing. Tell yourself who you are. Tell yourself who you want to be. You want to believe that you're a dream girl. You are a dream girl. But you have to believe that, because if no one else is going to believe that, I mean, if you're not going to believe that, who's going to believe that? Once you start to change your mindset into you thinking that you're a dream girl and you're telling yourself every day that thing, then you're going to start attracting that. And that's how people are going to perceive you. So it's super, super, super important to manifest what you feel about yourself, how you want to feel about yourself, because I'm telling you, it changes everything. Have a craft, and it could be anything. Like maybe you like to make blankets, maybe you like to sew, maybe you like to paint, maybe you're not artsy at all, and maybe you just like to, I don't know, maybe you're into finances. Maybe you can start bookkeeping for people. Maybe you can get into, like a little side hustle where you're like doing taxes for someone. Have something that you're doing outside of your career. Have something that you're doing outside of your life. And like I said, these are ways to escape. These are ways to see your value, because you have if an actual human being actually takes time to think about everything that we're talented at, because I hate when I hear people say, I'm not good at anything, I don't have any talents. Like, that couldn't be far from the truth. Everyone has talents. We're all talented. We just have to think about what it is. Some people are just born smart. I wasn't born with smarts. I was born with a creative talent. Like, I'm very creative. Some people were just born smart. Do y'all understand how much of a gift that is in itself? So just think about what it is that you're good at, and think about ways that you can either, just do that on the side just for fun or make money off of it. And I'm telling you, it will bring so much value to your life, and then change your mindset. And then last but not least, like, review everything. Like how I was just talking about talents, like review all of the talents. Even just take a piece of paper and write down everything that you are good at. Think about your relationship Write down all the value that you bring to your relationship. Don't just put I'm a good wife. Put why are you a good wife? Like, really think about the things that make you a good wife. If you're not in a relationship and you're looking to be in a relationship, write down all the things that make you feel valuable. Write down the things that, if people compliment you all the time, think about what the compliments are. Write those down. Even if you don't necessarily feel that way about yourself, think about compliments that you receive all the time, and write those things down. Think of all the good things about yourself. And I promise you, it will overflow anything negative. Unless you're just a really shitty person. But I completely doubt that. Especially if you're watching this video. So, like I said, we do not want to be hard on ourselves. Everybody is talking about soft girl era, especially as a black woman. Like, we no longer want to be living that hardcore, strong black woman life. I mean, it might be for some people, and some people want that. But I've been that my whole life. I do know that I'm strong. I do know that I am physically, mentally, emotionally stronger than most. I know that. But that's not who I am. Who I am, I'm a dream for somebody. Maybe it's for a man, maybe it's for your children. Like, I know that, even though I'm not like the greatest mom, I do know that my kids adore me. Be that person that somebody sees as an example and someone feels that they can model their lives after in some sort of way. So anyway, that's it for today, y'all, and I will see you guys tomorrow with another video. Don't forget to comment, because like I said, I want you guys to engage. I want to hear what you guys have to say about some of these things, and I want to hear, about some other ideas that you guys might want me to make videos on. So anyways, peace out, and I will see y'all later.